and welcome to Framed
Canvas, cuffs, and
other stuffs. This podcast is about crime
and art.
and our crime.
Wake up, pay attention,
We've got art.
and it's juicy.
Hello, Joel.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
What's going on?
Not a whole lot. It's a gorgeous Melbourne day.
Oh, Melbourne, you've turned it out.
Pollen's at 110% and it's going up my nose, and it feels like there's like a colony of ants just going through my sinuses at the moment.
Sneezy and wheezy.
Yeah, just tickling me with little feather dusters.
Hello. I feel like it reminds me of Magic School Bus. Like you know how the bus goes into the body? And
Yes.
I just imagine that's just what it sparked for me.
Funny you should mention that. Last night I went to my friend's house for dinner, and her housemate was on his way to a Halloween party, and his outfit was Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus.
Amazing.
And he sent, it was like a warehouse, a cool warehouse party,
Melbourne.
like blah blah blah, very Melbourne. And he's dressed head to toe like accurate Miss Frizzle. And he takes a photo while he's at the warehouse party and sends it to my friend. And it's just like, everyone here is dressed really sexy and I'm just Miss Frizzle. Which I love.
It's very-
Doesn't always have to be sexy.
Yeah, very Mean Girls of like, you know.
Yeah. Why are you dressed so scary?
Yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, commit to it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did they shrink in the Magic School Bus? Was the way that they shrunk, was the school bus magic and it made it happen?
I think so.
Did that whole sentence make any sense?
I think
It was the bus that
the bus
shrank
that
everyone.
was magic. Yeah.
Okay, because my friend was saying Miss Frizzle had like magic rocket shoes or something like that.
I believe she probably had that, but I feel like the whole point was it was called the Magic School Bus, and I think the bus was the magic part.
Thank God she wasn't around in the 1400s.
She would have been burned at the
chucked
stake.
into a pond.
You know what? She would have used her rocket shoes to get herself out of there. Whee! What are you recommending this week, Joel? What are you going to tell the people about?
Okay, Lady Gaga has
Yes.
released her new song, highly anticipated, and it's called Disease. It's got a bit of an industrial feel to it.
Yes.
She's going back to being a bit weird again, which
Yep.
we like.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
I like it because it references her old work.
Yes.
I wonder if it was someone else who had released it, if I would feel
Yes.
the same.
That's what I think.
I have nostalgia around it.
Yes.
I am excited for the album
Yes.
if it is like this.
Same. And this is kind of like, so when she released Chromatica, I wasn't a big fan of Stupid Love, the first song that came out.
Yep.
And which in turn ended up being probably my least favorite on the album. But the album as a whole
Is good.
had that same kind of feel, but I liked the song so much better. So, excuse me.
Hey, Fever.
Hey, Fever. I think that this is kind of like a little bit of a taste of what to expect.
Yeah.
I needed it to be a little bit more like faster and
Yeah.
a bit more clubby, I think.
Yeah.
It's giving me like 9 Inch Nails, which I love.
Oh.
Because it's quite like industrial and like electro synth. And yeah, look, I'm not crazy about it.
Actually, having thought about it, no.
Well, it makes me excited for what's to come.
Yeah.
And the visuals are really cool too.
Yeah,
So her
it's-
music video is great.
Yeah. The visuals are always, when she gets the visuals right, it's just like, oh, I want more people to be doing more stuff like this.
But when it's 2024
Yeah.
and
We're
a
doing.
Rebecca Black song comes out that I enjoy a lot more than a Lady Gaga single,
You've got to ask the song.
I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Have you heard Rebecca
have
Black's?
not.
So Rebecca Black, you know, Friday, gotta get down on
Yeah.
Friday. Her, she's matured into this like proper pop star now. And she has this song that's called Trust.
Oh.
It is a banger.
Really?
Yes. And she is dancing. The beat is like throbbing. It's very like brat.
Yeah.
And and it's like cheeky, and the music production in it's really good. Like she
Amazing.
is. I really hope that
that's where
she's kind of, because I feel like she could be, you know, Sabrina Carpenter levels of famous if she sticks to this.
kind of.
What am I talking about? Rebecca Black and like.
What is it? 2013.
I
We're
know,
talking
it's
about
just so
Lady
bizarre.
Gaga and Rebecca Black.
But that's before the well, because you know how we like to indulge in rage bait.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm talking about. We had a cheeky little comment talking about us mentioning Taylor Swift for clicks, which is absolutely not what we were doing.
Yeah, but also maybe.
Maybe.
We'll never tell.
I'm a total Swiftie.
Yeah, I actually enjoy Taylor Swift.
It's not my fault she releases like
20
versions of an album every fortnight.
Yeah. Like,
But anyway, Lady Gaga, give it a 3 out of 10. No, 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5.
3 out of 10.
3 out of 5.
Yeah, rumor has it she's going to do world tour as well. Rumor has it. I think she'll drop the album, announce a world tour, and she'll be on her merry way, and I'll go.
Yeah. And then people are already like, well, what's she going to do after this album? I'm like, can you
just give her a minute?
give her a damn minute?
She's been busy.
She's dealing with
been doing
the floppage of Joker.
Folie à deux.
Folie à deux.
She had to release the cover of the Kath and Kim theme song, guys.
Yes.
Let's not forget. She's
Busy
busy.
girl.
She needs a rest.
She does need a rest. She's going to get married soon.
Oh, muscle tough.
Anywho, love Lady Gaga before anyone.
Love Lady Gaga.
Love Pink. What do you recommend?
I'm going to recommend the Martha Stewart documentary on Netflix.
Ooh.
It's really interesting, and I didn't know a lot about her origin story.
Yes.
And I also didn't I think the thing we would probably all remember is she was guilty, and in my mind it was of tax fraud.
Yeah,
and
I
she
can't
went to
really
jail.
remember why she went to jail.
Yeah, you find out she probably, maybe.
First degree murder.
She killed a man. She probably shouldn't have gone to jail, in all honesty. It was a bad stock steal that her accountant told her to make, and she got done for insider trading. So
how long was she in jail for?
5 months in total,
Yeah,
I think.
okay.
It's a really good documentary because I think although she did go to jail, if she hadn't have gone to jail, she wouldn't have been the icon now that we know as Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
She let go a little bit.
She did, and she's got such a good sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
She's besties with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. So it kind of shows the before and the after, and kind of she's just a powerful businesswoman, and you don't realize how smart she is.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, she didn't kind of get rise to fame until she was in her maybe early 50s.
Yeah,
right?
she started a catering business at one point, and that's where it kind of stemmed from.
Yeah.
And then she wrote books, but her real fame and her fortune kind of didn't start until she was about 45, I think.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize is she was the first, this is what they say in the documentary, so don't quote me on this, but she was the first self-made female billionaire in America. So she didn't come from money, and she was the first female billionaire.
Before Oprah. Wow.
So
go off, Martha Stewart.
I know.
That's a lesson to every 20-something freaking out about their future and that time's slipping by. Never too late.
Never too late
Never
for
too
now.
late to start. I just started taking dance lessons. It's never too late.
We just see
My body hurts so much.
My bones are literally falling apart. But dance like no one's watching.
Dance like no one's watching. My quote that I invented. Go Martha Stewart. I love listening to her talk.
And it's just
like butter.
Yeah, and it's just beautiful. She shows all the shots and things of all the food and voluptuousness of it all, and you see all the references she pulls from art, and it's fab. Highly recommend. It's on Netty.
Wonder if she's friends with the Barefoot Contessa or if they're somewhat nemesis.
I
like Barefoot Contessa.
I feel like back in the day, nemesis. Now, best buds.
Yeah.
Jail time really did something good for Martha.
Yes.
I will say that. She's a very dominant person. Mm-hmm. I don't know. they showed a lot of footage of her being a boss, like before going to jail, and she would have been quite hard to deal with. But I feel like if she had been a man, it would be very different.
Oh, it always is.
So it's just interesting to watch how direct she is. And she's always so direct, but then she's like, let me show you. Like, you're using the wrong thing. I don't know why you're doing that. Let me show you the right way and then think about it next time. Like that's kind of the vibe. So she's still trying to teach you.
I wonder if – no, I'm not going to say. I was going to say I wonder if that's what Ellen was like, but then
I don't know. I think
we weren't there.
We weren't there. We can't comment.
So I'm just like, was Ellen just like kind of strict? And then people are just like, oh, well, she's a monster.
She's a monster.
Whereas if it was like, you know, Jimmy Fallon or someone like that being like that, they'd be like, oh, well, he's the boss.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're
you don't know, and I've barely looked into it.
We'll
I've got nothing to say about that.
We'll ponder on that. Yeah. Martha Stewart, Nanny, watch it. Highly recommend.
Great.
All right, Joel.
Yes.
Shall we jump in?
Yes.
All righty. So today, Joel, we're going to talk about the artist Vermeer, Dutch painter from the Golden Age. And
is that Impressionist?
No. It's the type of art you like. And I'll show you some pictures.
Yes.
Yes.
Gimme.
Dutch Golden Age. He is moderately successful while he is alive. However, once he passes away and we find his work, we go, oh, this guy's a master, like at what he does.
Ain't that always the way?
Always the way. Vermeer only produced around 30 paintings in his entire career. But each one is pretty much classed as a masterpiece. So he hit every single time. He was meticulous and obsessive about detail in every single one of his pictures. And he also had a real thing for really expensive pigments. So he used to use an ultramarine blue, which is known as lapis lazuli, which is one of the most expensive pigments in the world.
I think I know exactly the blue.
A pigment that was made from like pretty much
really royal blue.
Yeah, it like crushing up crystals essentially. That's why it was so expensive. Used to come from Afghanistan, I believe.
Delicious.
Let me show you some pictures of his. So this is the first one. I'm just going to let you sit there, bud.
Have we seen her before?
We've seen her before. Funnily enough, there's a fridge magnet that you bought back.
That's right. I did.
So this is the milkmaid.
Yes. Pouring a bowl of cornflakes.
Yeah. Tell me what you see, Joel.
So I see a listless lady pouring milk into a little ceramic bowl. There's a table that the bowl is on with some, bread. They love like little bits of bread in baskets that's all like torn up back then.
Oprah's favorite thing.
I'm assuming that this pigment of the blue is the one that is her dress, or the top layer of her dress, because it's really striking and it doesn't have that like muted tone, which I think a lot of the things, well, the art pieces in this time would have had. It like jumps out of the page. The detail is very gorgeous. The way he's captured the natural light coming from the window. Just little milk maiden.
Exactly.
There's a little thing in the corner.
Yes. There's
a little box.
So obviously.
What's in the box?
In the box. So this is the milkmaid. It shows a woman who's just churning some butter.
Right. Not pouring a bowl of Cocoa Pops.
Well, up for interpretation. Art historians weigh in. Essentially, back in the day, this is kind of what life looked like. Vermeer was one of those people who really wanted to capture these mundane, everyday scenes. And it feels really lifelike. Everything has detail. The bread, the jugs.
Do you know what I always think?
What?
When I see paintings like this? Do you think he's ever like, I have to get through the bread part and paint the bread bits? And he gets more excited about doing like the face bits?
Yeah.
Or he has to be like, now I got to move on and do the basket in the background. Yawn.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't want to paint too much in the background. I'll just put a box.
Yes.
You know what?
But everything is so detailed that it's just, he didn't cut any corners.
Yeah. I think that It took him years to do kind of each piece. So I can't imagine. I don't know. Maybe I'm sure there was parts of it he liked more than others.
Yes.
All right. So if you flick to the next one, this is the supper at Emmaus. And it is a gospel scene, which is the moment after Jesus was resurrected.
Oh, he does look a bit tired.
He looks
he's been through it.
He's been through some stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll see the bread that's moved from the milkmaid into this piece as well. So you've got similar.
That's her bread. She was preparing. Oh, sorry.
No. I was like, wait, that's her bread.
Oh, yeah. No.
Stop stealing my bread, bitches.
So these could be connected.
These could be connected. Very much so. Tell the people what you see, Joel.
I am seeing 4 gaunt people at a table. They're all watching. The middle one is Jesus. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's Jesus.
And they're all watching him very closely eat some bread.
As you would.
The one on the side kind of resembles Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas.
I see that. I see that. Yeah.
Do you know he's got an autobiography, and the title of the autobiography is called Falling Up, and is like, but it's like fallen with like an end, so it's like fallen up. I just thought that was really funny.
Shout out to Boo.
Because good on you, Taboo. But he sees that and goes, "Oh, I need to read this."
You know what? I need to know.
Yeah.
Fallen up.
It's clever. It's play on words.
Obviously, in this scene, he's bringing more figures into the scene, moving beyond his usual solo portraits.
Yeah.
In the 1600s, obviously, we're painting things about Christ because Jesus is around, and it's always a thing in paintings. We'll see this religious iconography from that time again. So that is the supper at Emmaus. Now let's move on to woman holding a balance.
Oh, this is stunning.
Beautiful.
Oh, this is really gorgeous. Shall I describe?
You can describe. Tell the people what you see.
Okay, so there's a woman sitting or standing next to a table. I can't really tell because she's wearing quite a cumbersome dress. She might be with child.
Yeah, TBC.
You never want to say that. Just in case.
You don't want to judge this woman
her.
from the 1600s whether she's pregnant or not.
Draped across the table is that beautiful pop of blue in I think it's like a sheet or something like that, kind of draped and scrunched to the side, carelessly slipping off the side of the table. There seems to be a box of jewelry, which he has they really pop because he's added that white gleam in all of them. And she's holding a little balancing weight thing.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know why. She seems to just be
pondering.
With it and pondering.
The title of this piece is just called Woman Holding a Balance.
You're right.
But it's interesting because the vibe of this piece is that she's kind of in this inner calm. She looks really serene.
She looks really serene. I want what she's having.
Yeah, pretty much. So the painting in the background is showing the Last Judgment. So it's a painting within a painting. And it's interesting because the theme of the Last Judgment is that it's kind of like you have to kind of be okay with the imbalance of life. So her being so calm while there's this big storm behind her is super interesting.
Very content.
She's content.
Yes.
So the whole scene feels kind of like loaded with messages about living life with balance and moderation and all that kind of stuff.
It's a gorgeous picture.
It's
I really want it in my house. I feel like if I was having a particularly stressful day, I'd just look at her and I'd be like, you know what?
Okay.
Everything balances out.
You know what? It's going to be fine.
And then she looks up at me from the painting and does a little wink.
And she just comes out at night and moves your furniture around.
Yeah. And then I scream and run out of the house.
Yes, bringing balance. Then we've got the final piece from Vermeer, which is his probably most famous piece, which is, if you flick across, is it the one that I'm thinking?
Yeah, I've never seen this one before.
Never in your life.
No.
Tell me more about it. Tell the people what you see.
It is a youngish girl wearing a blue headscarf. She seems to have a big dangly earring.
Oh,
and
what kind of earring would that be, Joel?
Oh, it could be a pearl.
Oh.
And she's just looking over her shoulder. And I think I've said this before. She's got a touch of the Sydney Sweeneys.
She does.
With who is that actress who played, funnily enough, Pearl?
Oh, I know who you mean.
Mia Goth. She looks kind of
That's
like
it.
Mia Goth as well.
Yes, I see it.
But yeah, obviously we're talking about Girl with the Pearl Earring.
I mean, there's not much to say about this piece. It's pretty iconic. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
If you don't know it,
It's beautiful.
It's
Look at her
beautiful.
eyes.
This expression is super mysterious. We don't know much about who the girl with the pearl earring is. And it's kind of that mystery that's led people to call her like the Mona Lisa of the North.
Yep.
Because everything comes back to Mona Lisa. It's a woman that we don't know much about with a small kind of like with an expression on her face that's telling us more than probably is there.
Yeah. God, he does natural light really well, doesn't he?
He really does. So Joel, now that we've talked about these 4 paintings, what if I told you that one of these is not like the others?
Ooh.
There is an imposter in our midst.
Ooh, okay.
Can you spot the fake?
I think it is. I'm flicking through them. Is it the Jesus one? It looks slightly different to his other pieces.
Yeah, so here we go. Here is the crime. Here is the plot. So the supper at Amas was actually Amas.
I'm so clever.
You're so smart.
Yeah.
Look at you being a detective. So it was actually painted by Hans van Meegeren.
Hans Van.
Hans van.
Hans Van.
Hans van.
So Aussie.
Yeah, Meegeren.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to butcher it. Sorry,
McGillicuddy.
I'm not Dutch, so here we go. So we're going to jump into the world of forgery, and it asks the question if this man tricked the Nazis as an act of rebellion or was just a con man taking advantage of a situation.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. Meegeren started out just like any other artist, hoping to make a name for himself.
Mm-hmm.
One of his early works is called The Faun, and it became super, super popular in Holland. And it said every 5th household had a copy of this picture.
Oh.
He did this picture in like 10 minutes. So it's actually quite a little speed drawing.
Right. Every 5th house.
5th house. Just
Like as a rule, or it was just okay.
how many that sold.
Like 1,
Every
2.
fifth.
All right, now you have to have the fawn.
No, you don't.
You
Don't worry,
don't.
guys.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Holy smokes.
I know. So
Nice.
it's cute, right?
Yeah.
Like it's nice. It is.
It's a fawn. It does what it says on the tin.
It does. And you know what? 10 minutes.
Pretty good.
I'll give it.
Yeah.
So people love the painting not just for the look, but he made up a backstory that kind of went with this deer, that it was like the princess's at the time like favorite animal, and it was like her fawn, and he sold more about the story than he did the actual painting himself. And he kind of came up with this kind of, he was like, oh, this is marketing essentially.
Yeah.
I'm just marketing and selling a story.
Marketing.
He invented marketing.
God.
100%. So here's the thing. He was a really good artist in the 1920s. Like galleries were showing his work. But the thing was that he wasn't really a groundbreaking artist. He was just good at painting or drawing.
Yep.
So it's kind of one of those things where while he was talented in producing works, he wasn't pushing any boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And one critic said he had every virtue of an artist except originality, which is so brutal.
Oh.
Yeah. The art world at the time was kind of moving into this more abstract world.
Mm-hmm.
And his pieces were just kind of not keeping up with what the art world was doing.
Right. So he was always kind of like a step behind. He wasn't like breaking barriers.
He wasn't breaking barriers
Yeah.
or keeping up with, he just kind of said, well, I'm not going to do that. I'll just do what I know how to do.
Yeah. Everyone's wearing baggy pants again, and he's like just still wearing skinny jeans. Yeah.
It's exactly the vibe. He kind of got critiqued quite hardly within this art world, but he just didn't take it very well. Like most people would be like, okay, I get it. Like you don't like my stuff.
Yeah.
That's fine. But he did not take this well. So he decided to plot out a revenge prank that would kind of against the art world for excluding him. So he's like, I'm going to prank you guys. He's a little cheeky boy at this point.
Yeah, he's cheeky.
So here's the plan.
Okay.
He knew he had skills, and he knew he had the skills to paint like Vermeer.
Yeah.
So he just needed to make it believable and to make other people in this art world believe that the piece that he was about to produce was Vermeer's work. Mm-hmm. Vermeer is known for having like 2 clear periods of work, which is his early work, which has a lot more people in it. It's still very detailed, but towards later in life, he does just pretty much solids like Girl with a Pearl, Milkmaid.
Yeah.
It's all that one piece, whereas his early work was multiple characters, right?
Yes. And he had to draw like baskets and tables.
And he was just
like
like, I'm sick of drawing.
tired. I just want to paint the lady.
I just lady with an earring. Yeah. So there's this kind of missing chunk of time in his career because it's got early life, late in life, and then there's no in between. And everyone's like, where are there's got to be something there.
This time?
Meegeren decides, hey, I know that art historians are looking for pieces from this time. Yeah. Instead of creating a forgery from something that already exists, I'm going to create the story of the missing period to bridge the gap.
That is so smart.
Yes, exactly. So he literally spotted a gap in the market, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So hold on. This is in the 20s.
We're on the cusp of World War II.
Yes, right. So anything that would have happened with the artists who did like Girl with the Pearl and stuff like that, everyone who was around during that period wouldn't have been around obviously.
Unless they were a witch.
Yes.
Well, dead.
Yes. But I say that because I'm just like, that's really clever because also it's the 30s. Their ways of figuring stuff out might not be as clever as what they would be today.
It's not.
So doing something like this would be easier to get away with.
Yeah. Like before the 80s, go for gold, guys.
Yeah.
Make it up.
Yeah.
Because I
think this is really smart.
Yeah. He's a smart man.
He's a smart man.
So, yeah, he spots the opportunity and he goes, all right, I'm not going to forge, I'm going to create. Mm-hmm. What he does is he starts to practice the work of Vermeer as what he's found. And then he goes, all right, how do I make it old? How do I create this kind of feeling of old? Because you can't just use the paints that are available now because they would not have been available when Vermeer was around. So
gotta get that mummy dust.
You gotta get that mummy dust. Gotta go down to the old crypt. Find out that mummy.
Get that mummy dust.
This is kind of the process. It wasn't a quick paint job. It took him several months to complete this piece.
Yeah.
So what he did was he got a old canvas from that had already been used.
Yep.
Something that he knew that felt older than the time.
Yeah, it's a bit aged, a bit more rough.
Weathered.
Yeah.
So what he does is he paints over an existing work, which is quite common for old artists to do.
Okay.
Because there's no money around, so you just keep painting over and over. Yeah. Then what he does is, so over time, oil paint becomes really, really hard the longer you leave it, right? It just, the air and
solidifies, starts to get that crack.
Yeah. So if you were to paint something, if you had something from like back when Vermeer was around, the oil paint becomes so hard that if you were to try and use an alcohol solvent or something, it wouldn't come off at all. It's just so solid. It's a rock. Solid as a rock. Whereas if you were Whereas if you were to use an oil paint from today and it was still dried and hardened, if you used a solvent to get it off, you'd get some color.
Yeah.
Right? So he was like, cool, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this particular chemical to it, which was actually Bakelite, which was used to make telephones at the time. So it was in a varnish, and Bakelite is like that plasticky stuff that they used to make old school telephones. Like, the vintage ones. So that was found
like a resin?
Yeah, it's essentially a type of resin. And so he found that in a particular varnish, and that gave him that hardening look and feel of the piece. Yeah. And then what he also did was he would put the painting into like a dry oven to like dry out the paint.
Yep.
Then he would get, because it would crack, then he'd get Indian ink and like brush it over the paint so it would fill all of the cracks with black so it would look older than it is. So he's doing...
Very cool. What's Indian ink?
It's just dark, blacky brown ink.
Okay.
It's just an old school type of ink.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he...
And that would seep into all the little crack
cracks.
bits and give it that like rich weathered.
Yeah. That tastiness.
Delicious.
Then he essentially would kind of, I guess, like create this masterpiece, make it look old, and then he was like, cool, now I've made this masterpiece, I need someone to authenticate it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a few things that he did, like he used the same brushes that Vermeer would have used. He made sure all the pigments wouldn't have been, they were all older pigments. So he went to a lot of effort for this first.
Yes.
This kind of end result was this huge, large scale missing piece that people were wanting to find. And I think that was the thing. People were art historians and people who studied Vermeer wanted this piece to exist. So him creating it and then being like, look at this, kind of, they wanted to find it. So because they wanted it so bad, they were kind of like, well, we will authenticate it.
Yeah.
So because he knew that this was the case, he takes it to be authenticated by a man named Abraham Lincoln. He says, hey, Lincoln, before you go to that theatre, do you mind just looking at this piece? Abraham Bredius, which is Holland's top Vermeer expert. He's 83 years old.
Oh, and he's going to the big guns. He must be confident with his piece.
I know. He's got an ego, this guy.
Yeah.
He's doing things. He's like, you know what? Go big or go home.
Yep.
He uses a middleman to do all the talking. They come up with this story of like these people are trying to get out of the country, sob story. They want to sell this piece. And because Abraham was a expert in the field and had been looking for these works, he kind of just sees the bread on the table. He sees certain aspects and he goes, this is it. We've found it. Where it's like there are things in the painting and when you look at it again, you go, this is very clearly not by that artist.
Oh, wouldn't you be smug?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be like, yeah, you fucking idiot. I fooled you.
I fooled you, you dummy. So immediately he goes, yep, that's 100% a painting from that time. And what happens then is there's a few things. So the color, the signature, and like little touches of the bread means that it's close enough for this masterpiece to be authenticated. Mm-hmm. It's close enough, but...
And like you said, they wanted it to be.
They wanted it to exist. Yeah. And if you want something enough, it will manifest itself. Yes. He then goes on to sell it because he's had this authentication.
It's a hard one. It's like me and amicably. Amicably. Oh, I still can't do it. Amicably. My mouth just can't get around it.
Some words, English, am I right?
Yeah.
So he sells it in 1937. There we go. We've got a date for the equivalent of about $4 million today.
Holy schmagoli.
Yeah, not bad for 7 months' work. Not bad. All. So he's pocketed a cool $4 million. Mm-hmm. Now, this was the end of the prank, hypothetically.
Yeah.
He made the work. He fooled the art world. It's now hanging in a gallery listed as this person. That should be it. That was his stunt. That was his revenge.
Go take your money and just live your life.
Live your life. Yeah. But no.
He's gotten a taste.
Yeah, he's gotten a taste.
Got a taste of honey. Now he wants the whole beehive.
Whoa. So he goes, you know what? I'm going to make some money out of this.
Yeah.
So he essentially decides, I'm going to double down and I'm going to create more Vermeers and I'm going to say they're from this period and I'm going to just start tricking all these experts into thinking I keep finding these beautiful paintings.
What's he saying to them? What's the reason for him finding these paintings?
So he's getting middlemen to kind of to get this authentication going. Essentially the story that they come up with is that he's not involved at all. He's kind of to the side, right? Families are finding this work in their home and they are essentially trying to, because war is starting to bubble, right?
Yeah. People are leaving.
People are leaving countries and
yep.
trying to flee. So what he's doing is saying, I'm like, this family has found this painting in their home. They didn't want to get rid of it, but now it's time to sell it because we need to get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
So that's essentially the story he's
Fair
telling.
enough.
Sob story.
Yeah.
Because, you want to believe a sob story.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. He could have gotten away.
Started up
Friends.
I will have to stop derailing this episode.
I love it. It's only
never
getting
gonna end.
denser, so don't worry. He honestly could have gotten away with this. He could have spent the rest of his days living as this kind of wealthy criminal, creating these fakes, and making this art world believe that he was, I guess, these artworks existed.
Real fakes.
Real fakes. However, the thing is, the Nazis kind of come into play here.
Okay.
So, if we look at the dates, we're in about that World War II era.
Yeah, World War Folie deux.
Folie deux. So Holland has just been like occupied by the Nazis. And if there's one thing we know about Nazis, they really, really, really hate modern art.
Yes.
So
It's the main
takeaway from the
Yeah.
Nazis. They hate it. For Hitler, because he was obviously a man who couldn't get into art school, he had this real hate for the art world when it started to shift from Renaissance masterpieces into this modern art. He thought it was trash. He was like, you call me trash, but look at what you're supporting, I guess. And I guess why does Hitler like all of these old school masterpieces and paintings? And it's kind of like these paintings depict and have this undertone of like Aryan features. So it's like really pale skin, really big blue eyes.
Yes.
So Hitler kind of looks at these paintings and go, this is my perfect one race kind of thing.
Yes.
So it's stuff that wasn't meant to be like seen that way, but Hitler's like, I'm going to grab it and this is why I love it. So the Nazis are some of the biggest art looters in history. They went into every place that they invaded and took all of the culture, essentially. Yes. The war pushed people to secure their wealth in whatever form they could. So all of the art market explodes because people are buying and selling to kind of secure their safety.
To keep it out of reach from the Nazis.
Yeah. And also like if you've got a really old painting that's worth a lot of money, but you have no money because you're living in an occupied city, you're going to sell the painting.
You're going to sell it.
So you can
stay
eat.
alive.
Yeah, pretty much. What happens is Meegeren kind of seizes this moment and starts selling his Vermeer forgeries like they're going out of fashion. Like he goes, cool, everyone's buying this kind of type of art and I'm going to capitalize on this. Hitler had already snatched up Vermeer for his collection, which was a real one. This is previous to, him coming into Holland. So his top general, Hermann Göring, Hermann Göring, sure. He couldn't handle being left out. So obviously it's always a pissing contest with these guys. So he said, I must also own a Vermeer. If Hitler's got one, I must also have one. Yeah. So he goes, at this point, I'm excluding the Van in Meegeren's name just because it's getting confusing with Vermeer and Van and all this stuff.
Yeah, Meegeren's fine.
Meegeren's fine.
Yeah.
So Meegeren is kind of known now as this art dealer who can find these pieces. So he makes it. Yeah. So he got too close to the fire. So he can get his hands on these rare masters, and he goes to Hitler's right-hand man and says, I can absolutely find you what you're after.
No, don't get involved with Hitler things.
No. So he was selling the forged Vermeer to Göring, and this was like the biggest mistake that he probably made in his forgery career. So
he's playing with fire. I'm so nervous.
And also what's happening now is because the demand is so high, he's churning out these works a lot quicker, and the quality is terrible.
isn't the same. Yes.
And the first painting was it wasn't flawless, but it had some pizzazz to it.
Yeah.
By the time you get to like where he's just churning out this work, the quality is so bad that it is astonishing how anyone thought these were real Vermeers.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'll show you a photo of like one of the last ones he did. And when you see it, you go, oh no.
Stick figure holding a flower.
Pretty much. Pretty much. During this time of the Nazis kind of occupying the area he lives in, he just kind of keeps living his life. So he buys about 50 properties at the time in the area because he's making so much money in this when people are so poor and
everyone's also fleeing.
Yeah, fleeing, disappearing, going to camps. So he's buying.
He's like, this is great.
Yeah. I'm going to invest in all this real estate that's come up for grabs. He's living. And he's also like throwing really lavish parties. People are coming to his studio. Like he is living the life. But then what happens is the tide turns and the Nazis are defeated. Great for everyone else.
Not so great.
Not so great because this brings in a different type of problem for Meegeren. He is accused of treasonous collaboration.
Yes.
So obviously after the war, because he'd been selling paintings and at this time, no one knows they're fakes, right? So he has been seen as selling these masterpieces, this culture, this history from, his country to the Nazis and becoming a Nazi sympathizer and working with them. So essentially he's selling these priceless artifacts and profiting off the Nazi regime.
But then is it like, well, he's kind of tricking the Nazis.
But they don't know this at this point.
Oh, true.
So at this point, they think he's just selling masterpieces.
Yeah. Yes. Because of course.
Because no one knows
their fakes.
Yeah. So at this point, he's selling real Vermeers to the Nazis. This particular
not a good look,
especially when the Nazis are now losing. So this treasonous collaboration. He could be punished by death, essentially.
Yeah.
So he could get the death penalty for this collaboration and sympathizing. In 1945, after being arrested for collaborating with the Nazis, he takes the stand and drops a bombshell while he's in this packed courtroom. He confesses, and this is apparently by a quote, do you think I would sell a priceless Vermeer to the Nazis? I painted it myself. In fact, I painted all of them. They're all fakes.
Oh, my God.
Just like that, he outlines in this...
Out of the bag.
da, 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 da.
Now.
Yeah, so he comes out in court. No one at this point, everyone thinks these are real masterpieces, and he goes, actually, I created them all. And everyone goes, pardon?
Everyone would have gone.
And did you see what he said? So yeah, pretty much that is happening in the courtroom. And this is kind of where you have to pause and ask yourself the question, is he doing this because he's trying to get himself out of the more severe crime? Because currently he's on trial for...
Facing death.
Yeah, he's facing death for being a Nazi sympathizer. This paints it in a different light of, I'd never do that. Like, I'm just tricking these little Nazis. So it really shifts the narrative onto him being a bit more of a cheeky boy rather than Nazi sympathizer.
Yes.
So... Let's find out.
Okay.
He shifts the narrative and turns himself from a war criminal into a master forger. And he's saying, like, I am guilty, but not of the charges you're accusing me of. Long story short, he goes through all this thing. He tells them how he does it. He actually recreates and paints another version of a Vermeer and brings it into court to show them that he can do it because they don't believe him. So he had to provide the evidence. And he actually manages to dodge the Nazi collaborator label and instead is convicted of fraud, earning himself just a year in jail.
That is so lucky for him.
Yep. So essentially he's spun this narrative, which we know he can do because he's been doing it his whole career.
Yeah.
He's really good at marketing.
Marketing genius.
Yeah. And he kind of turns himself into this hero for tricking, one of Hitler's main guys and outwitting the Nazis. So he's become this like local hero in
Is this post? So what is it? Post World War II?
post World War II.
So we're in the 40s.
We're in
late
like
40s.
47.
Yeah.
So yeah, the war has just finished.
Yeah, right.
And also at the time, you've got to think like there are probably bigger fish to fry than this guy who's selling paintings.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that went down in World War II.
Yeah,
this
they're
is just one of
busy.
the-
This is just one of those things
Yeah.
where if you look back at it, it's a pretty big deal, but it's not like
in comparison to everything else that was going on.
Yeah. So here's kind of where, like, so he paints himself as the ultimate anti-Nazi con artist.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where things get a little murky. It's kind of like left up to interpretation. So during the war, he held exhibitions of his works that featured paintings and poems with some pretty clear like New World Order messaging. So it wasn't quite like, like Nazis are great. It was kind of just like, this is what the new world will be, and it kind of insinuates that a new period is coming.
After the takeover,
Yeah.
which he's thinking at that time they might
Win. Yeah. So he's holding these big, I guess, gallery openings, and people are coming, and it's a lot of,
Yeesh.
yeah.
Yikes. Yeah.
There's Nazis in attendance. So,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
and he's creating artworks that are somewhat, I guess, alluding to this whole regime.
Well, then
right?
he is sympathizing.
I guess, yeah. Or is it just there's undertones of this and he just so happens to be creating the work? I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. And like, are you just doing it to survive, or are you doing it to trick them?
Out of fear, yeah.
Yeah. So probably the most damning piece of evidence for him is that, so from the exhibition that he did about this, New World Order, he made a book, distributed copies of this book.
Mm-hmm.
They found in Hitler's possession, when they went through all of his stuff, this book, which Meegeren himself had signed and dedicated to my beloved Führer in grateful tribute from H.
Ooh.
So now, allegedly, I'm going to put a big allegedly, don't come for me, but allegedly he had signed the book but hadn't written the inscription. I don't know about that.
Where the hell did the inscription come from?
Yeah,
then?
he's like, oh, Hitler must have written it himself.
No.
No.
Hitler didn't have time to do that.
No.
He was a very busy man.
I always feel so strange when people say, like, to my beloved Führer, like people were in love.
Bizarre.
It's such an,
But I'm also thinking he's pandering to him out of like fear, because in his mind, like we could be living in a Nazi
world.
Yeah.
And if he is just doing it to survive,
it begs the question.
Like, is it ethical? There's a whole ethics conversation around this, because what
would you do out of that fear in that time?
And he's not, it's not like he's doing this art and like living poor. He's living rich. He's living the high life. People around him.
And he wants to keep that up.
Yeah. People around him are starving.
Yeah.
Whereas he's in these beautiful homes, one of the biggest homes in the area, just living.
Yes.
It's how do you meld the two, or is it just happenstance and he's just
my beloved Führer.
Ugh. So is he anti-Nazi hero he claims to be, or is he, I guess, too cozy with these high-powered clients?
Mm-hmm.
We'll never get we'll never have the full answers. It's just kind of there. That's the evidence.
Yeah,
that's what I'll give you.
Yeah.
It's murky. It's grey.
On both sides.
It's murky.
It could lead either way.
Yeah. So before his conviction, Meegeren divorces his wife in a strategic
He had
move.
a wife.
Yeah,
Oh.
sorry. Just,
I thought he was just this like lone wolf bachelor.
Nah, he's got people around.
Yeah, okay.
So he has a kid.
Yeah,
at some point. He divorces his wife, but it's purely strategic because he hands over a substantial amount of his money and assets to her in the divorce.
Okay.
Because he knows stuff's about to go down and he's going to have to pay reparations.
Yes.
The less he has, the better. So
He's jumping ahead.
Yeah. So he's setting up his family, I guess, to have a better life or to have a good life. As part of his sentence, he's ordered to repay some of what he owns the people he deceived. Obviously not the Nazis, but like the galleries and things like that. And his remaining assets are eventually sold off to make the restitution payments. So he had 50 houses. They've got to sell them all off, essentially.
He's back to square one.
Back to square one. Weirdly, in a strange twist, he has a psychologist's assessment made around this time to lessen the charges he's on because he claims he wasn't fully responsible for his actions. They can pinpoint, which is, it's like paying off someone to say this, but the psychologists pinpoint that the stress that he was under due to those original critics caused this chain of events. And therefore, he was not in control of what he was doing. It just like sparked something and then he went into creating forgeries because of these critics back in 1920.
Well, that's kind of what kicked it off, but it was completely his doing.
Exactly.
He wasn't possessed and doing something without his control.
They said that
it was calculated.
It caused him a psychotic break, I guess. They're saying it caused him so much stress.
I wouldn't say it's a psychotic break. So, I would say it's more of a like, I'll get those.
Yeah,
I'll get those guys.
It's pretty wild. It's just he was trying to lessen his sentence and he would. Anything would,
Yeah.
We snap at a comment from about Taylor Swift. So
very true.
We're one step away. I just start going out there and committing the most crazy crimes. It was that comment.
You got a comment that wasn't in our favor.
He's sentenced to a single year in prison, but essentially in a dramatic final kind of form, the day before his sentence is set to begin, Meegeren collapses and dies.
Ooh.
I know.
Yikes.
So he takes his last breath without serving a single minute of jail time.
God, he'll do anything to get out of trouble, won't he?
He just was like, you know what? I'm not doing it.
I'm going to die now.
Bye. Jail's not for me.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah.
He's just kaput.
Today, 18 of his works are known as fakes and have been accounted for, but there's always these tantalizing questions. Are there others still hanging in museums that are thought to be Vermeers but are actually fakes?
And it's tantalizing me.
Yeah. So what do you think, Joel?
I think that's fascinating. To be honest, when you showed me those first images, the Jesus one did stick out.
Yeah.
Now, was that Jesus one, was that the first one that he put all that effort into?
Yeah.
Because even there was, to me, on first, there was a clear difference.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, oh, maybe that Jesus one was one of the first ones that What's-His-Nose did.
Yeah.
Before he really, found his groove and started using more detail.
Yeah.
Because the skin was a bit more like smooth and milky. And there were parts of it that made it stand out to me.
Yeah.
So for someone who was that 80-year-old man who was the historian of what's the artist's name again? Vermeer. For him not to pick up on that. But like you said, they wanted it so badly to be.
Yeah. I think that played the...
But how do we know he was even painting during that time?
They just assume. They just assume because he got better, I guess. Like his works got better.
What if he was just like, I'm just going to take a break from painting for a while and go to dance class? Show me the ones where he started to lose his...
lose it.
Yeah, when he was like scrambling.
Move into... So this is one. So you can kind of see... This is the one he actually sold to Hitler's right-hand man.
Okay. Yeah.
There's no detail.
There's no detail.
This is one that he called Smiling Girl.
Oh, I don't like her.
She's like...
Oh, she's Girl with the Pearl's evil sister.
Yeah.
I don't like that. That's demonic.
That is...
I do not. You can't have that hanging in your house. Her eyes are crazy. I hate that.
That's one he did a bit later.
It's just like, it's like the movie Smile. It's the horror movie Smile.
She's going to kill someone.
That's awful.
That's his story.
What a crazy life he led.
He led a crazy life and never
He managed to skirt past a lot of bad stuff.
You know what? Death will do that.
And then, and then, I don't want to go to jail.
Just faking it. He was faking it the whole time.
Could have been.
I mean, he could be
He could be in Bora Bora right now.
Whether he was just doing what he could to survive, I think there is some aspect of him that was into what Hitler was selling. But Hitler was also a great marketing guy. So a lot of people believed in what he was doing. And then after the fact went, hang on, that's not great.
Yeah.
We got sucked into propaganda. So
but also like there was we don't really have a choice kind of air about it as well.
Yeah.
And out of fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, God, it would have been a really conflicting, well, of course it was a conflicting time. It was World War II, Joel. I'm like, oh, that would have been so hard.
You know what? Struggles.
Yeah.
They really struggled.
Just awful. But yeah, that was fascinating.
So yeah, that's the story.
Meet this man.
No, you can't.
No, I can't.
But
he's dead.
He's dead. Thanks for watching and listening.
We're
actually recording. Hey, I don't know if you know this. We're actually recording this conversation.
Oh my God. I thought we were just having a little chat.
No.
I thought this was going to be a lost episode.
Lost episode?
Yeah.
I mean.
Just for us.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Please share this with someone.
Anyone you like. Da, 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 da. Ooh, both clicks.
We're right. That dancing.
Yeah.
It's getting ya. But yeah, share with a friend. Leave us a review.
Leave us a comment.
We'll obviously take it very well.
Yes.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Toodly doodly.
Goodbye. Bye.